And we're talking about painting a dragonfly on flowers. Now I am quite a fan of painting animals, insects. You can see a couple of examples here. And it's something that it's a bit different to what I would normally do, because I think most people know me for painting the likes of landscapes and seascapes, but I do paint a lot of animals. In fact, I've recently had a book published called Animals in Watercolour. I've sketched it in on a 1/4 imperial sheet of watercolour paper. The paper I'm actually using is called Matthew Palmer's watercolour paper. It's a beautiful premium cotton paper, well worth checking that one out. Please do have a look on the SAA website and just do a search for Matthew Palmer. You'll find all the products we're using today on there as well. So there's the sketch. If you want to have a go at this yourself, just bear in mind this is the demo, a pretty quick process. But feel free to watch this back at any time. Pause the video, of course, and you can. I know people that actually trace up against the screen. Why not? You can do it. But here is the sketch of this dragonfly with these beautiful flowers. Okay. Now the paper is a knot surface paper. It's 1/4 imperial in size, which is about 11 by 15 inch. It's a 300 gram paper, and it is simply called Matthew Palmer's watercolour paper. It's a beautiful surface to work on. Make sure you check it out. Hello to everybody that's taking the time to watch this live, taking time out of your day. It's better than watching the news, but the question is it better than watching the Olympics? That's a tricky one. That is a tricky one. I reckon this is better. This is going to be a gold medal, this one. Let's get started, folks. Let's check out the actual palette here. This is the palette, folks. You can see all the materials I've got here. Most of you probably know me. You've come across me at some point, and you probably know I've got my own range of watercolour paints. I've squirted them all into the palette here. This is my palette as well, Matthew Palmer's watercolour palette. Everything is branded at Matthew Palmer. I've spent 15 years developing premium materials. We have natural grey. We've got natural grey here. We've got natural orange in the palette. We've got natural yellow light. We've got the two natural greens, natural green light and natural green. These are in the palette. If you haven't got these colours, you can simply use primary colours, and you can create your own palette of colours to go with the picture. We've got some natural turquoise, which is a very unique colour designed for seascapes. We've got some skin tones, light and dark. The one I'm using is dark skin tone. That's the colours. Again, these are all designed for replicating nature. The most common one is natural grey because it is the colour of shadows. It is an essential one. As far as brushes are concerned, I'm using my own range of brushes, obviously. I've got a set of the blending blades, Matthew Palmer blending blades, which are a beautiful brush designed for making paint flow easier, reactivation of colour, that kind of thing. We've got those. We've got a Matthew Palmer lift out brush for adding some highlights. We've got a fantastic Matthew Palmer fantastic brush here, and the beautiful, stunningly beautiful, which are going to come in right at the end. These are the branch and detail brushes. That's the brushes for today. This is the actual painting. It's sketched in, it's stuck down to a board. My first mission, if you like, is to put a nice wash of colour on the background. So do stick with us to the end, folks. Do stick with us. Don't go anywhere. We're going to start off simply by wetting the paper. That's what we're going to do. We're going to wet the paper here. Basically, this opportunity to go straight in and nice wash, nice wet misty paint in the background. So let's use the big blending blade. I mean, any big brush will do at this point. Straight over the whole thing here. Big wash of colour. Now if you can't watch this live, you can watch it back. If you want to have a go yourself, it is going to be on Facebook for all time, so you can just simply check it out at a later stage if you need to. Can't go wrong really, can you? There we go. So a nice coverage, complete coverage to be fair, of water. Plenty of water, completely cover everything. The reason we do this is because I want the paint to flow, so wet into wet is what we're talking about here. So a nice mixture. Let's make sure we've not missed any bits. Wobble the board around. You'll see your dry patches, you'll see your wet patches. Treat yourself for wet patches, if you know what I mean. And then we're covered, which means we can go straight to the palette and grab some colour. Let's move all these out of the way. Pop them to one side. My first job is to get some lightness Put those in the box over there. First, I'm going to get some light colours in place, which means I'm going to be using some natural green light, which is a lovely colour, simply designed for replication of nature, and this is going to go straight in. Now what's interesting with these blending blades, I can use them with multicolours. So on one side of the brush I'm going to put the green, on the other I want to put the yellow. So if you take a look at the brush, I don't know whether you can actually get that on the camera, but you can see there's two colours on there, because the special bristle of the blending blade is it stays in place. It stays in place, which means I can simply go in and I can twist, and you get instant multicolours. Beautiful. Make sure you get some at the back of the wings here. Can't go wrong, like I say, and just let the paint flow. Pick a bit of yellow up, pick a bit of green up, and just twist away. That's all you need to do. It'll grow on you. Loving the green. Natural green light is a stunning colour. Both greens are basically replicating nature all the way through here. So now if your paint was dry at this point, these blending blades kind of aggravate the colour, if that makes sense. So it kind of keeps the paint moving. This is very much a twisty action. Perfect shape for doing clouds, this brush as well. So it really is a bit of a nice little all-rounder. And that is just going to be a background. Now in the palette, I am going to grab some of that dark skin tone as well. A little bit goes a long way with that because it is opaque, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of that. The skin tones are gorgeous for brickwork, terracotta, anything like that. I'm going to bring a little bit of that, and it really complements, because it's got a high amount of red in the actual paint. The dark skin tone really goes really nice with the greens, because reds and greens, as you're probably aware yourself, massively kind of complement one another. Think about adding a subtle bit of red, but not necessarily red, you know, like a cadmium red or something. Maybe try something like a burnt sienna or something like that. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, now we've got a size, we can zoom in closer. Remember, we are live here, so the zooming is happening as we paint. What we're going to do now is we're going to come over to the palette again, and we're going to actually grab the smaller blending blade, and we're going to take some of the yellow. This is natural yellow light. If you've not got this, use cadmium yellow or Aurelian, however you pronounce it. Everyone's got different ways of pronouncing that. And then we're going to stipple in some out of focus. Quite strong with the colour here. We're sort of working a bit out of focus here. Not with the camera, with the paint. We're going to stipple in. I'm going to let the paint spread. Now I'm trying my best to get all this in at the point of the paper being wet, okay? So a nice twist here. Imagine these are the flowers coming through. Working outside the picture. You can see, if we get a little bit closer in for you can sort of see how the paint's kind of flowing. And how the paint sort of mixes on the paper. Which is perfect. Tapping away. Even do a little bit of splattering. With the yellow. And actually the green, why not? It doesn't matter, anything goes really. So a bit of splattering, it all gives a nice background effect, as you can hopefully see. Perfect. Now in the palette we are using a nice variation of colours here, so I want to swap that brush over, and I want to actually grab the large branch and detail brush. This one is designed for holding colour. I want to use dark green. It's not called dark green, it's called natural green actually, but it is a dark green. It's ready made from yellows, reds and blues, so, and that's the case for all of the natural colours. So just do a quick search on the SAA website for Matthew Palmer's natural collection. You'll see the colours on there, and you can it's just kind of pre-made colours. It kind of takes a little bit of the, I always feel it takes a little bit of the pressure out of it, if that makes sense. You know, you don't have to worry too much about, you know, having to mix all these different variations of colour and It kind of combats the fear a little bit. That's what I always think about this. Okay, so I want to use this, and we're painting some random branches here, grasses, whatever we decide these are going to be. Now, this brush holds a lot of paint, so it's really nice to create an effect. In the paper, lovely, is still damp, which is exactly what I'm interested in here. So I want to get all this in. I want to rotate the board as we do this, so get nice rotations coming in. The paper's still damp. It had 3 good coats. It's pretty warm in the studio. I'm quite lucky the studio's got natural light coming in, but the sun does beat down on it from time to time. And it's pretty warm, but the paint is holding its own. It's holding its own, which is wonderful. I've just dried that off through some tissue so I can get some more misty grasses and various branches and things. So it's like an explosion of grasses. Very much central focus. This is all incidental stuff. It's all background stuff. So don't worry too much about what's happening in the background. Magic. I'm just going to use the lift out brush here, which is just a square brush, just to soften the base of this. I'm working pretty quick here because I'm working against the paper drying, so I just want to soften all this out, blend it out at the ends, fade it out at the ends. Nice. It's still workable. It's great that I can still just, you know, and I've not put any more paint on that brush. I'm still kind of going with it, so it's still exploding with colour. And this is all in the background. Brill. Okay, I'm just going to grab a little bit of orange. Natural orange is very similar to burnt sienna and cadmium yellow. I'm going to grab some of that, pop a little bit of that into some of these flowers. Just a little touch in some of these flowers here. So again, very much out of focus stuff. Brill. Nice. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. That's so far, that's gone quite well there. So looking good. Looking good. Nice colours coming through. We've got the yellow, of course. And it's basically about producing a nice vibrant look to your painting. Nice and crisp, nice and clean. Just giving that a few seconds to sort of soak in a little bit. But that is a good start for the background. What's going to happen on this picture is going to get lots and lots of clarity into it, lots of detail. As that's kind of starting to dry, I'm going to use the small blending blade and work on some of these individual flowers, because what we've got here, we've painted that nice background, that out of focus feel. Now it's time to work forward, and this is where it really starts to take shape. So do stick with this, folks. It's really important that you do. It's damp, the paper's damp, it's gone a bit wavy, gone a bit cockly. It's all good, it's all fine, it's all part of what we're looking at here. So over to the palette, let's make use of these blending blades again. Small one. As I mentioned, you can sort of load your brush up with 2 colours. So on one side, I want to get a very strong natural yellow light, or something like a cad yellow. On the other side of the brush, I want to take some natural orange. So we've got a brush made up of 2 colours. You can, if I hold that pretty close to the camera, you can probably see the colours, juicy colours on there. Because I'm working very thick with the paint, I don't need to worry about how wet this is. I can easily control that. It's fine. Can't go wrong, really. Let's get close in as well. Let's get close into the flower area so we can see what we're doing here for detail wise. So literally using the brush, I'm going to paint in these. Now, dragonflies are tiny. You know, what, 1.5 to 2 inches for this kind of one. So we've really gone in close here for this. We've zoomed in, we've magnified it quite a bit, which is fine. And I'm not going to use a pen on this picture, a fibre pen, but I'm going to use the branching detail brush like it's a fibre tip pen. You'll see where I'm going with this. You'll see where I'm going later on, okay? So I can quite loosely block in these flowers without any chaos, without any trouble. using the yellow, using the orange. I'm putting it in very thick, very loosely, very crude at this point. Remember, we've got blending blades, which makes quite a difference. I've also got a fan brush here to get some feathers on the end, some spikes at the end, and then we'll get all that working together. Now all this is going to pop forward later, so do stay around, do stick around for this. Over here we've got another one. Again, it's got a bit of orange on one side and a bit of light yellow on the other, so I can quite easily make use of both colours here. I want to blend all this in a second, hence blending blade. Down here as well, we've got the orange. If we need to make something pop a bit more, you've got the orange to introduce. So all very loose. It looks a bit of a pig's dinner at the minute, but that's watercolour theory. Doesn't happen till the end. The big finale. The finale. We've got a little bit of a bud coming down here as well. Pop that in. So loose, washed in very freely, cleaning that brush out, giving it a bit of a tap on tissue. I want to use that brush to smooth in any areas where you feel it's, even if this was dry, even if this was bone dry, I could quite happily go back in at any time with a bit of water on the brush and just smooth in the colours, clean up edges. I can use the side of this blade. Again, these are called blending blades if you've not come across them. Not an expensive brushes. I think these are about £13-ish for a set of two, so really reasonable things. And just kind of, it's just an easy way of washing paint out, removing paint, that kind of thing. So later on we're going to put detail in, but we'll get to that stage as we get to that stage. Now at the top of the flowers we're also going to use some of the yellow, and I've got the orange if I need it as well. So kind of hiding at the back of the Dragonfly, we've got this massive of buds, I suppose we'd be calling these. So we'll pop these in. Again, very loose, nothing precise by any means here. That's the biggest mistake on this one, is putting too much detail in, because the detail is going to come at the end. So I'm just using the tip of this brush and just outlining areas. I'll drop in some of the orange as well. And then again, I'll clean that brush and just give it a bit of a wipe, even a bit of a pinch, and literally just use it and smooth it. Like I say, even if this was bone dry, I could still quite happily come back in at any point, smooth it out, blend it in. Even wash off a bit of colour. When I get a bit of highlight, you can just go in and just tap a bit off, which is quite good. Or it's still a bit wavy, the paper, so it's still very much the background at this point, which is absolutely fine. Nice. Can't go wrong, can you? So this is loose, straightforward background stuff at this point. Okay, nothing fancy here yet. I'm going to put the stem in next, and then we'll get stuck into the Dragonfly, and that's when the magic happens, because once we've blocked it all in very free, very loose, that's when we get in that nice little bit of detail. Let's get the stem in next, which is going to run down the center and shoot off to the sides. So for this, I'm going to be using natural green. Now there's two greens, we mentioned this at the start of the demo. If you've missed the start, make sure you watch it back, folks. Natural green light. So this one's natural green. On this blending blade, you can see it's got that nice point on the brush. You can make use of that. I'm going to turn this on the side. Where's your light coming from? Doesn't really matter where your light comes from, to be fair, on this picture. Did you wet it? I want to get the light coming in this way from the left. Yeah, but where's your light coming from? Let's just bring the darkness in here. Just painting one side of the stem. You never thought you'd spend your day watching paint dry, did you? Now, as we go through the actual wings, we're going to be a little bit more patchy. Spending your lunch break watching paint dry. What more could you want, eh? Let's bring some little shadows coming over here as well. So I've put in just that one kind of dark side. Brill. Bit of clarity. Clean brush. What we've got then is the light green, of course. Just in there. Get that in. Put that in there. Turn it over this way. And again, brush it in. Lightly sweeping around. Let's get close in. I want you to see the shadows we've created there. Slightly opaque, kind of semi-opaque is natural green light, so it's really nice for creating lovely effects of you know, you can make it stand out, you can make it pop. Bring it over there. Nice. Same over here as well. Bring it around the bend, as it were. Excellent. Okay, so we've got that main stem. There's no shadows, there's no detail, there's no highlights, but we shall get to that stage. But really what I want to do is give that just a couple of moments to dry, and while that's drying off, let me show you some paintings of similar themes what I've painted over recent times. I've got some just sort of tucked away at the side here. So I teach live virtual watercolour workshops, so most weekends you'll find me teaching a live watercolour workshop. These things cost £10, and you can take part live, or you can watch it back at any time you like. And of course all the info is on my website, and the link for my website is in the description for the video today. So it's basically just all the w's.watercolour.tv, and you can book a place on one of those workshops. This was done last week on a workshop. You can see obviously the ladybird with the flowers. Here we've got a bee on a foxglove, a bumblebee on a foxglove. I love this one. I like the distance, the scale of it, you know, bringing this thing really forward. Here's a blue monarch butterfly on a cosmos flower. So again, these have all been taught at live workshops. A dragonfly here on scabious flowers. Beautiful violets coming through on that one. And then here we've got this, is that a tortoise shell? I think it's a tortoise shell on a buddleia. So you can see the sort of style what I like to do. And again, if you fancy that sort of thing, please do book on to a live virtual workshop. I teach them pretty much every weekend for £10, and again on the website Watercolour TV. This has gone in, it's pretty dry now. It's a little bit damp. That's because I'm using a cotton paper. That's all it is. Dragonfly is going to go in next. First of all, I want to do the wings. Let's get close in. Now, as I've said a few times, do try and stick with us, because we are going to be working on this picture right at the end. And I was using Matthew Palmer blending blades. A question's come through about them. So there's actually 2 blending blades. I can show you those. You get 2. You get a large and a small. Matthew Palmer blending blades. Again, check them out on the website. There they are. Great for detail, great for reactivation, and that's what I'm using. So just do a search on the SAO website for Matthew Palmer and you'll see all the products that we're using today, all the paints and all the stuff. Okay, there's the palette. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the wings first. I want to get really close in here today. We can get close in to this. No expense spared on this live demo. Let's just pop some water around. Now, water is going to diffuse what's behind. We know that because it's watercolour, but the thing is, you kind of want it. It's like looking through, almost like looking through a piece of sort of bathroom glass. I don't know whether that's a strange analogy, but you know where you get that, it's a little bit distorted and it's not quite clear. Well, that's kind of what we've got here with the wings. And basically I'm wetting the wings. I'm wetting the wings, which sounds quite interesting. It sounds like a good night out, don't it? I'm wetting the wings. And I'll do a couple at a time basically, and then into the palette what I'm going to use, I am working upside down with the painting, that is, not actually upside down, but you know that, don't you? You know that. I want to use some turquoise, natural turquoise. Now, if you've not got this, why not? It's a lovely colour, is natural turquoise. But if you haven't got it, please don't worry, because the best way to replicate it would be to mix Viridian with some French ultramarine blue. I'm going to drop this in on the edges of the wing, all the way around, allowing the paint to spread. I'm just going to go right up to the edge. I'll do the same here as well. Clean edge. There's just enough water that's just allowing the paint to move. It's a transparent colour, so it's really easy to apply this. Clean the brush, give it a bit of a pinch through the kitchen paper towel, and then simply give that a bit of a scrub into the middle. So it's created an edge, and obviously we're going to put the segments on the wings. We've got a tool for that. That reminds me of a good joke, that. I've got a tool for that. I'm not going to tell it here because it's not past 9 o'clock. Can't do it. Over this side, love the turquoise. Gorgeous colour. Rinse and repeat, folks. Rinse and repeat. Wet the wings. There we go. Give it a bit of rotation. Perfect. Again, we've got the turquoise coming into play just on the corner here. Let it spread. I love how that colour just totally, like, just kind of jumps out against the background, the greens and everything. It really works nice, that colour. Natural turquoise is the colour I'm using here, and I'm using a small Matthew Palmer blending blade. That's the name of the brush. Clean it out, give it a bit of a pinch through some kitchen paper, and just as we did on the opposite side, just encourage the paint to blend into the centre. Smashing. Nice. Look how it kind of like sort of almost looks iridescent, don't it? Because it's a colour science thing, you know. It's the nature of the colour, and yeah, it's got like a bit of a lift to it, almost like it pops off the page. Pops off the page. Great. Now let's paint in the body again, looking back at the whole picture here, folks, because that's where it's at. Don't forget you can watch this thing back. What we've got is no detail. We've just got a massive of colour, if you like, and yeah, it's going to change at the end because I'm going to bring a special brush into play. You need to watch it for that. I'm excited for you. I am. You can smell the fear. I've got goosebumps. I'm excited. Sad but true. What I'm going to do is get close in here. We're going to paint the body here of this thing. Again, using that blending blade there. What we're going to do here is we're going to have natural turquoise, a little bit stronger, beautiful colour. We're also going to grab another colour, which we've actually not got. I didn't mention this colour at the beginning, but I was going to grab some. I think it would work well. If you've got some kind of a violet, and this one here is Matthew Palmer Natural Violet. There it is. I'm going to use that. Lovely colour, great for bluebells. It looks blue, but it's when it dries, it's just a lovely violet shade. Yeah. So I've got natural turquoise here, quite strong, and then I've got the violet as well. Blending blade on the case. And what we're going to do is work up this edge here. Little segments, the segments on the back. Little flicks. I've seen them in concert, little flicks. The cheap version of Little Mix. When I say cheap, they were bad. They were bad. I like them. Clean the brush. I got dragged. Can I just put it out there that my music taste is not Little Flicks? Now, I'm blending this in one direction. I've definitely not seen one direction. However, yeah. Using a bit of water. Let's get a bit of violet on the job. On the opposite side. Rotate the board. The violet again pops against the greens. Just all makes sense at this point. We've got the eyes, which kind of look from this angle like a pair of testicles. Yes, I did say testicles, but they are the eyes, the head. Bring it in. Clean the brush through the tissue. And then blend. Blending blade. Blending seems a simple thing, but if you're fairly new to watercolours, you'll know that blending can be quite challenging. Like that. Look at the colours. Let's just pop a little bit actually of that violet into these wings. I feel the need. I'll bring a little piece of violet coming down here. And then we'll use water on that blending blade to smooth it away. So you can almost see sections, can't you, within the wing. Sections within the wing. Same here as well. These two colours work lovely together. The violet and the turquoise. Smash in. Nice. We've got the basic frame of the Dragonfly, which is good. This is a nice relaxing painting, this one, don't you think? I'm pretty chilled out here. I'm gonna fall asleep in a minute. Won't be the first time. Let me tell you, wouldn't be the first time. But there we go. So that's what we're looking at so far. We've got the basic structure of the Dragonfly, and we've got the basic structure of the flowers without any detail whatsoever. My first job at this point, it's all nice and dry. It's all dry. It's all doing its job. What I want to do here is put some light, some highlights into those flowers. And for this, I want to use a lift out brush. It is called a Matthew Palmer lift out brush. Again, check it all out on here. Can't go wrong. We've got some dry kitchen paper, and I'm just going to use water. Just use water, nice and close in to this. There we go. Get water on the brush, tap off the excess, and just a few highlights here and there. Not many highlights, folks. Just a couple of little. Not sure whether you'll see these that well on the screen here, but I'm just basically lighting some edges of some petals, washing away. It makes a translucent effect, which is nice. You can probably see the lines start. Yeah, you can. Starting to appear there, where you've got a couple of petals connecting to one another. Give them a dab. So if you like this kind of painting, you like this sort of style, you like painting animals, insects, do check out the book that I recently brought out. It's Ready to Paint 30 Minutes, Animals in Watercolour. It's got 32 projects, all based on animals in watercolour, believe it or not. So make sure you check it out. There's everything in there from tigers, lions to domestic cats and dogs, right through to this kind of work, this kind of style. But look at the light, look how the highlight, just it almost puts layers with it, don't it? It's quite nice to see that. It's good to see it. It is. Wonderful. So that's at a stage now where it's ready to bring in detail. We're going to talk about detail. So I've done a similar painting to this before with a pen. I've used a fibre tip pen, a waterproof, fade-proof fibre tip pen, and it's quite addictive. But the downside to that is it's very black. It's a very black pen. It looks very contrasty and very crisp. So I'm going to use something that is, it's called the branching detail brush, and again it's a brush I designed a few years ago with the SAA, and you can see the tip of it just here. If I get the camera to focus on that, you can see the tip. It's basically, it's a size 8 brush, but then it goes to a really fine tip, and I can literally load up this with whatever colour I choose and use it like a pen. The colour that I'm going to choose is natural grey. It's a very dark shadow colour. It's a shadow colour, but it's not black. It's important to say it's not black. It's a cold grey. Why is that important? Because it just looks softer. It really works well for shadows and various things like that. I mean, I want to be quite heavy with the paint. I'm popping it in. It's mixed from your primary colours. It's blue, it's got red in it, it's got yellow, but one thing it's not got in it, and this is important to say here, it's not got any black pigment. There's no Payne's grey, there's no lamp black, there's no carbon in it. It is basically just a lovely detail colour. Once that brush is loaded up, what you've done is you've loaded up the body, which will gradually feed that tip, and literally you have a pen in your hand for creating beautiful detail, which is what this painting is needing. So let's get close in, working his way through. We will start on the flower. You can tap off the excess on the tip if you want to get a bit more control out your brush. And I'm treating the painting like a pen and wash, but without using a pen. I'm using a branching detail brush, which means if you wanted to do sepia colours, less harsh colours, it's very nice just to add. So I'm doing it like a pen and wash, but without using a pen. Okay, so I'm not going to do any blending as such. I'm just going to add edges and sharpen up the picture and do almost the same style that I would do it if I was using a pen. And of course, when you think of that, you think of the likes of cross hatching and pen and wash, wash and pen, ink and watercolour, whatever you want to call it. But it just, you know, it's going to sharpen this up. It's different. It's something different to try. So I'm using a brush rather than using a pen, basically. That's all it is. That's all it boils down to. So it's going to be softer. It's going to be more subtle. And it's going to give us a lovely effect. And it's going to crisp up the dragonfly, the flower. Not putting a huge amount of work into the stem as such. Just want to sharpen up some edges. But it's just going to make it stand out. It's just going to leap off your page. So fine. Just putting little sort of diagonal flicks to the side, almost to represent like you do with a pen. And I think quite often people look at my paintings, especially some of the more detailed ones, and they'll say, have you used a pen on that? And I'll say no. So how do you get that nice crisp edge? And this is it. This brush was designed for this. So in here is a job lot of natural grey feeding that tip. It just works a treat. Of course, it's watercolour, so if you wanted to use water and you wanted to blend it in, well, absolutely, why not? But I don't want to do that. I want to create a pen and a wash feel, but without using a pen. Just to show you how fine these brushes do actually work. Pop some little spots around here, little flicks again. Little flicks again, little flicks strike again. So just popping little bits of detail on. Still not having to load up any colour yet. Remember, this is very tiny. It's scale wise. You think of the size of a dragonfly, this type of dragonfly. Pop some little dots and spots around here. There it is. And then again, just want to, there's one here to work in, so I'm just going to bring this one down here. So if you feel the need to blend, if that's what you want to do on your picture, then obviously all I do is go back over all these lines with a damp brush, and that will very easily allow me to blend the paint at any time, as much or as little as I need. There we go. So yeah, very much pen and wash, very much ink and wash, but with a Matthew Palmer branch and detail brush. It's quite addictive as well, this technique. It's quite peaceful. I think the whole picture is quite peaceful. That's what lots of people say about the weekend live virtual workshops that I do. It's a relaxing bit of escapism, you know. So make sure you have a look at those for me. That'd be good. Again, all the information is on watercolour.tv. That's my website. Click the workshop tab. You'll see when the next one is coming. Let's get to the top here. Let's just outline some of these guys at the top. A little bit coming through there, not much, and then I'm just going to pop in some little bits of dry brush, little bits of texture. Brill. Onto the dragonfly. I'm actually going to use a bit of blending here if I want to go around this area. And I also want to go around this section on the back where the wings are attached. Now I'm being very loose about putting this on, and you'll see where I'm going with this, because I want to do almost an L shape on each little segment of the tail. same brush, and I want to blend this in. I'll blend all this in. And I'm in no rush to do it because it's natural grey, it's not permanent. So it's a very easy, a very fugitive colour. Which means you can easily reactivate it. Perfect. Let's just add a bit more width to some of these lines at the top. A couple of little bits in here I want to do as well. Little random shapes. Now all that's going to get blended in, and I'm actually going to grab the larger of the two branching detail brushes, which is here. And that one's just having water on, nothing else, just water. And I want to go in and spread the paint, and any areas, even if it's dry, any area that I feel I want to blend, I can use the tip of that brush, which is just like a little water tank. At this point, that's full of water feeding that tip. That's all it is. So all this is going to get softened in. Because the paint's so strong, and because it's not a staining pigment, it's quite easy to loosen it. Soften it. Brilliant. Great. Let's come back a little bit with the camera. I'm going to use that brush as well. See where we're going with this, can't you? Looking forward to getting the wings in. I'm going to use this brush damp again. Just any hard lines around here that I'm not quite liking. I can just use water just to soften them, and that's the advantage of this, you know. If it's not a pen, like I said, I'm using it as a brush, and of course a pen, once it's on, there's no blending, is there? So here I can go back to all these original lines that I added and just quite casually just encourage them to fade if I want to. Back to this brush, which is the small one, and that's still got the grey on, so I can be a little bit more detailed in places. Like, I'm just going to creep in a little bit of detail around some of this area that just kind of pokes at the back of the wing. Again, I've got the brush here with the water on. If I want to diffuse anything, soften anything in, blend anything in. Nice. There's a nice little spine that runs down the centre of a Dragonfly, so we'll use that grey. It's just starting to dry up from that original load I put on. It's the paint drying rather than the brush running out of colour. And put a few little, let's get close in for you there. Enjoying this. It's a nice casual painting to do. There you go. Just gives a bit of shape, bit of form. Yeah. Just random little spots around here. This back. And then I think really one of the best bits of this picture is going to be adding the wing detail. Again, I want to use this brush here. and simply take my time, holding this brush like a pen. First thing I want to do is pretty much just outline each wing. Straight away you can see what's happening. It starts to pop against the picture. I'll put the legs on as well later, that'd be good. Get those on. Look how nice that is. This brush is, it's gorgeous. Now, if you're thinking, why are you not using a pen? End of the day, I'm not a big fan. I don't mind using pens on pictures, certainly to sign the picture with, but it's black or black and there's no blending, is there? Do you know what I mean? So a black pen works if you do it on the whole picture. Of course it does, no problem whatsoever. But sometimes it's just nice to have, look at that, lovely, isn't it? I want to put some cross, and the fact you can taper the line as well. You can go back if it's a bit harsh, you can reactivate it at any point, you know. You've got that option as well, of course. So if you feel that you want to reactivate it and blend it away, like I did with the flowers, just get a damp brush and just wash it out. I mean, that's watercolour at the end of the day. I'll come back to them in a sec, but look at the difference between the two sides here. You know, you can clearly see what's starting to do here. Over here, of course, more of the same. Thanks for sticking around, folks, today. Appreciated it as always. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Do check out all of the links in the description for this live watercolour demo. Let's bring this on this side. Notice the rotation of the board. I mean, that's, for me, that's just a no-brainer. I see people struggling to sort of, you know, get the hands round, but obviously if you're working on an easel, then just flip it around. It just makes perfect sense to me. It's not everybody's thing, but I just say for this, it's just a absolute perfect thing to do. And you can see I'm outlining the wings with the grey. It's a very cold grey. It's got a high percentage of blue. You can see it here. It's called natural grey. It's mixed from primary colours in the factory. And if you followed me on a workshop or a demo or something, then you know I use a lot of grey in my work. So it's in everything from a shadow in a tree all the way through. Brings it alive, don't it, when you bring this in? It's quite enjoyable, very addictive. Just grabbing this brush and having a bit of a fiddle around, which is really nice. Rotate the board to a more comfortable position if needed. Anything goes with these, in my opinion. I don't think there's any script. I'm sure in nature, I'm sure that these are perfect mirrors of each other, but you know something, we're doing this for leisure. We're not doing it on a botanical level by any means. So it's just, we're here to be leisure painters. We're here to enjoy the whole process. Let's put some lines going this way. Excellent. Watercolour for me is a suggestion. It's a suggestion of, okay? So what I'm saying there is you don't need to be precise with every picture you do. I didn't paint every single leaf. Absolutely not. It's just about doing enough that your mind fills in the gaps, and that's what's happening here. The mind is filling in the gaps, and you know that it's got the wonderful segments. You can add as many as you like, of course you can. Keep putting a few little bits on the ends here. To this side. Pop a few more over here, actually, I think would be nice. Nice, tidy flicks of the colour using the tip of the brush. And adding as many or as few variations as you like. Makes for a very interesting picture. Quite addictive. For me personally, I feel like I just want to add a bit of dry brush into these wings now, just to kind of give a bit of sort of solidness to them. So I want to come back to the small blending blade, pick the grey up but wipe it off, and make the bristles go a bit splayed. Just ever so gently skim the surface of the paper and some of the edges. Mainly, if I'm honest, mainly where it comes out from the body. That beautiful texture. Just a few little, you know, extra little bits here and there. I've still got the pointy brush, the branch and detail brush. So if I need to use that again, it's there just to add a bit in. But if you look at that little bit of dry brush I've just added, really, in my opinion, makes a huge, huge difference to the painting. I've got a mount here, a bevel mount, and pop this on. It's always nice to see these pictures in a frame, of course. Let's get the camera so we can see it all. There we go, give it a bit of a nudge. There we go. So beautiful. There you go, folks. Now, as far as signing my pictures, I do tend to use a waterproof pen, a fade-proof pen for mine. Anything goes. 2021. So there you go. That is the Dragonfly on flowers, using a kind of a faux, let's call it a faux pen and wash effect, using of course the blending blades, Matthew Palmer blending blades, and those beautiful Matthew Palmer branch and detail brushes. Do make sure that you check out all the colours and all the products online. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day for watching this little demo. It's been great. It's just what I needed today. I've had a very busy day with lots of things happening. Get in the studio, get the paints out, have a go at painting something like this. And of course it all started with this sketch here. You can pause the video, you can have a go, you can check it out, and yeah, there you go. So give it a go, folks. Enjoy the painting again. And if you do want to take part in any watercolour workshops with me, I'm still running live virtual watercolour workshops from the comfort of your own home. These are £10. All the information is on allthews.watercolour.tv. Click on the watercolour workshop link. You'll see the next one that's coming up pretty much every single weekend my name is Matthew Palmer, and a big thank you for watching. Keep well, keep safe, and I'll see you very soon for more watercolour painting. Take care.